Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Monday Q&As. And guys, I'm sorry about bag push. You guys know how he gets. He was freaking out. I don't even know what he's talking about. He said he woke up this morning, some skinny vegan kid was talking shit about the channel or something. I don't know. He's freaking out. Bro, man, you better be glad she's not home. She already told you not to mess with any of her guns. You better put that shit up before she gets home. All right, but let's get this started. First question. Are the true causes of modern diseases such as diabetes, obesity, heart attacks, and cancer related closely to the consumption of meat and animal products only? It seems like the vegan movement are of an extremist when it comes to this. Thanks. No, guys, when I told you guys before, even when I was vegan for a while, that the only real reasons for veganism is personal ethics. It has nothing to do with health, that you can eat a balanced diet. There's no real evidence out there. When you look at the composite evidence, the total sum of the evidence out there, it doesn't appear that vegan or vegetarian diets are any more healthy than balanced diets. And in some cases, they can be less healthy than a well-balanced diet that includes animal products. So no, this just isn't true, and this is very cherry-picked data. Some of the data that is even being used to support this is really old data that hasn't really been backed by modern research in humans. It's been overblown, and again, the vegans tend to cherry-pick this, and I understand that veganism is an ethical issue, but it is not so much a health issue. And when they compare it to the average American diet, it tends to look better, but the average American diet is full of all sorts of junk and shit, and overeating and being sedentary. And that's the average American lifestyle these days, unfortunately. It doesn't mean that a vegan diet is automatically going to be more healthy. And it's very possible to live to be well over 100 for many people while eating balanced diets that include animal products every day. So it's just not supported by the evidence. It's not supported by the real world. It's purely an ethical argument. All right, next question. Differences between the glute ham raise and hyperextensions in terms of muscles activated. Is one better than the other? Again, you're comparing apples to oranges. The glute ham raise is almost primarily, the only real primary mover is the hamstrings in the glute ham raise, and it puts a unique position on it to where it gives the most stress near the bottom when the knee is at full extension in terms of the joint angle specificity, and it tends to work the biceps femoris a lot more than most other hamstring exercises short of some sort of hamstring curls. Whereas in the hyperextension, works the entire posterior chain, but the focus on it depends entirely upon the angle of the bench you're on. Some of those are 45-degree benches, some are 90-degree benches. The 90-degree benches are almost exclusively spinal erector with some glute and hamstring, and it's a little more balanced if you use the 45-degree angle one. But in terms of just hamstring development, the glute ham raise is superior all around. And for spinal erector development, the hyperextension is going to be quite a bit superior. So you're comparing apples to oranges. What's your goal there? And I would say for more athletes, there's going to be more of a need for something like the glute ham raise than necessarily the hyperextension, but it's going to depend upon how strong your lower back is and how much of a base you've built. If you need a stronger lower back and you're building a base there, the hyperextension can be a very, very useful asset. All right, next question. When forming an opinion on paused deadlifts, why don't you consider the fact that it is possible to do them with full speed off the floor and the stopping at the pause without decelerating into it? Because it's not possible. The laws of physics prevent this. Every stopping of a movement requires a deceleration, and in sports science, we have studied very closely all around the world. The Russians studied this stuff for decades of the deceleration points and things, that every lift decelerates as you get closer to the top, and a lot of explosive speed training methods that say the Russians developed and Eastern Bloc countries developed, that Westside Barbell has developed for the West originally. All of these methods involve training yourself to move the deceleration point closer to the top so that you can continue to accelerate through sticking points rather than decelerate at all. And you can't do that. If you pull explosively off the floor with the intention of slowing down, say midway through the lift, you will oftentimes generate not only less off the floor, but even if you start it faster, you'll have to decelerate even faster to reach that point. When it goes to slow down, there's going to be a dramatic deceleration no matter what you do. And the faster you pull from the floor, the more you're going to have to decelerate. So you're going to train that deceleration even worse. So that's the problem with a paused movement mid-level, is that you're going to decelerate and you're going to train a deceleration. That's the argument against them. But to say that you can't that you can avoid the deceleration, that it's possible. No, the laws of physics do not allow for that. It's completely impossible. So it's not possible. So I don't know how you've come to this conclusion. You're not really looking at the data out there over the years by some of the top coaches around the world and PhDs in the field who've studied this stuff in gold medal winning athletes. All right, next question. Hi Jason, I'm having problems with my deadlift. My sticking point is halfway up my shins. Any suggestions to strengthen this portion of the lift? Yeah, if you're sticking halfway up the shin, that is completely a floor. Your sticking point isn't at the shin, your sticking point's off the floor. You need to focus on getting tighter, exploding off the bottom, maybe do speed pulls, maybe do deficit pulls, and you need to focus on just getting stronger all around, because the issue is that if you're stopping mid-shin, you are clearly just not strong enough to lift the weight that you are lifting, and because you're not able to generate enough power out of the bottom to get the weight moving, you're just not strong enough to lift that weight. So you need to focus on just getting stronger all around, dropping back down and using a lighter weight that you can handle, and focus upon exploding it faster off the floor, getting stronger. So all around, just lowering the weight back down and doing real work sets again, speed work, deficit pulls, that should sort you right out. All right, next question. Would consuming alcohol during a bulk help to gain lean mass? I've heard you say that it's not about macros, but more so calories in versus calories out. And alcohol has calories, however, empty calories. So does the extra energy technically help to gain weight, or is it just overall useless and detrimental to the body? No, alcohol calories can be part of a bulk. They can be helpful for gaining lean mass because they're energy. They're a very efficient source of energy. Your body will tend to use them first. So if you're consuming alcohol, it will be carbohydrate sparing. Carbohydrates will then be protein sparing, and it will give you more glycogen stores because you'll burn the alcohol. More of the carbs that you're eating then, because you're adding extra calories to alcohol, will then be stored as muscle glucose for you to use in your training and to train harder, and to be protein sparing, which will allow you to build more muscle mass. So alcohol can be a successful part of a bulk. Just remember that when in excess, it has toxic effects on the body and can cause dehydration and other things. So in excess, it can become problematic indirectly. But the calorie and energy portion of the alcohol in moderation, yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's just another form of calories and energy, and it's just a very efficient energy source for the body. It just happens to be one that's toxic when consumed in excess. All right, next question. What kind of routine would you recommend for lifting with a broken leg? Does it do more harm than good to do isolations with my good leg? This has been studied over the years. I've seen data on this going back as far as 15 or 20 years, that when you train just one side of the body, there is a carryover effect to the other side. So if you train your left arm or your left leg, the muscles on the other side of the body for someone who's untrained actually do grow. They don't grow as much as the side you train, but you are giving training stimulus. And it has been found for people who are in a cast, specifically in your situation. I've seen research on this about 20 years ago. So don't ask me to pull up the study, guys. The internet wasn't even really around like it is now. But this is stuff I read in a journal 20 years ago, saying that, showing that people who trained the other side of their body, the other arm and the other leg with weights, when it was in the cast, that they saw less muscle atrophy when inside the cast. It helped preserve the muscle mass longer during the healing process. So if you're in a cast on one leg, yes, absolutely train the other side of your body. In fact, don't just do isolation. Get on and do some leg presses. Get some good compound movements in there, and stimulate some solid growth so that you can help keep some of the muscle mass in that broken limb while it's in there, and your recovery will be so much better when you come out of there. So definitely do it. All right, next question. If someone can bench press 100 kilograms, that's 220 pounds, without training, could this indicate elite level genetics, and what could be achieved within 1 year over the long term? All drug-free, providing all factors are correct. Cheers, Dan. No, your starting point isn't always indicative at all. Now, sometimes it can be. I'm not saying it's not oftentimes, but other times it isn't always. Someone could just have a very large frame and a lot of muscle mass naturally, or they have done a lot of physical manual labor. Someone who, say, worked out on a ranch or worked construction or done heavy physical labor before they started training is going to be a lot stronger than the average untrained person. And on top of that, when you're dealing with things like epigenetics and codons that aren't turned on, as what I pointed out before, a lot of people who seem to be really athletic early on, they have genes that everyone else has, that they're just active. They're either born with them active or they turn on earlier in life, and you have to go train to activate those genes. You might have to train for 3 years for those codons to turn all the way on, but you have them still. So if that's the case and that person, that stuff is just active already and they have extra muscle mass and frame size than someone else, but if it's from those codons already being turned on, those genes are already active that other people get from training. They're not going to get additional activation later by training it. So you might find that that person might start really well, but at the 3-year mark, they're no further ahead than someone else with 3 or 4 years of training. But in other cases, yeah, they very well might have really good genetics and might end up benching 400 pounds in 3 years. So you can't always know just based on someone's starting point, because there are different factors that play into that. It's not always proof of amazing genetics for the long term. It can be proof sometimes of either a physical lifestyle, a very active lifestyle going in, or it can be indicative of some of the genes that people turn on with training already being turned on in that individual, which is oftentimes the case. So you never really know until you get them into training 2 or 3 years. All right, next question and last question in part 1. For my sorcerer in 3.5 edition D&D, should I make the effort to make my next familiar a fiendish ape or a celestial lion? The ape gets bonuses to climb, spot, and grapple, but the celestial lion can be ridden as a mount and gets bonuses to hide and move silently. Well, first of all, this is 2015. I don't know why you're still playing 3.5. 3.5 was really a Power Gamers edition, and the rules just let you is based around just power gaming and building characters that are stronger than they should be for people who are smarter and do more math with their players, and it makes the game unbalanced and unfun in a way. I don't personally know anyone who still plays 3.5. Everyone I know has gone over to 5th edition. 5th edition is really a lot more streamlined. The rules are flow better, and it's a better system overall. I would tell your DM, drop 3.5 completely and go to 5th edition and quit playing with this antiquated, heavy math-based 3.5 system. It's just, I don't enjoy it, and I don't know anyone else who enjoys it. Everyone I know who switched over to 5th edition likes it a lot more. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.